Before they even knew I was there, I managed to get 7 photos. Suddenly, Aiden jumped off the bed and yelled, "Give me that camera." I reached behind me and pulled out the gun I had tucked in my waistband. He paused, a sneer spreading across his face. "You don't have the guts," he challenged. The next thing I knew, he was on the floor screaming. "My God!" Richard exclaimed. "You did that to your own brother?" "The only reason you're still conscious," I replied coldly, "is because I'd rather let Mom have the pleasure of taking care of you herself." Veronica, my wife of 9 years, was sobbing. "Ethan, please, don't kill me. I'm begging you." I ignored her and turned back to my father. "I don't know what makes me angrier. You sleeping with my wife, or you doing things with her she'd never let me do." I took a deep breath. "I quit. You'll need to change the sign on the building. From Dawson and Sons to Dawson and Son. Actually, maybe just Dawson's, if that asshole kicks the bucket. I don't imagine anyone's rushing to call 911. As I turned to leave, he asked, "Where are you going?" "Your place. To show Mom the photos." "Hold on, we need to talk." "You might need to talk," I shot back. "But I don't want to hear it." He called after me as I walked out the door. "Ethan, don't walk away, talk to me." I ignored him and headed to my car, slashing both tires on the passenger side of his car. I didn't need him speeding off to Eleanor before I got there. I drove 2 blocks, then pulled over and called my mom. I would have preferred to give her the pictures in person, but figured the cops would probably head straight for my parents' place after the ambulance left for Aiden. "Hey, Mom." "Ethan, where are you?" "On my way to New York." "Why on earth are you going to New York?" "Just trying to put as much distance between myself, Veronica, Aiden, and Dad as possible." "Did you really have to do that to Aiden?" she asked. "He's never going to walk right again." "He's lucky I didn't kill him." I thought Chelsea deserved that much satisfaction. "Look, I'm sending you some pictures. You need to see them before Dad gets home." She started asking questions, but I cut her off. "I'll call you later," I said, then hung up and glanced at my watch. I had about an hour before the bank closed. As I drove, I thought about what had just happened. I'd come back a day early from my business trip and spotted my dad's car in the driveway. I didn't think much of it at first, since I'd always asked him to check in on Veronica while I was gone. Make sure she was okay, see if she needed anything. Of course, when I said, needed anything, I definitely didn't mean that. Anyway, as soon as I walked in the front door, the sounds coming from the bedroom made it pretty clear what was going on. I went to the den, grabbed the lockbox from my desk drawer, unlocked it, took out my Colt, and tucked it into my belt, just in case. Then I pulled out my phone, turned on the camera, and headed for the bedroom. There was Veronica, on her knees with Aiden, my father standing behind her. And that's when I realized why I was always the one sent out of town for work, while Aiden got to stay home. Once I got to the bank, I cleared out our accounts and cashed in the 6 bank cards from our safe deposit box. By the time I left, I had a little over $118,000. Then I drove to the bank where the company accounts were and withdrew another $155,000. I figured it was severance pay, though I guess some might call it embezzlement. Honestly, I wasn't too worried about embezzlement charges when I was probably already wanted for assault. My last call before leaving town was to Aiden's wife, Chelsea. I caught her just as she was about to head to the hospital to see him. "Ethan?" she asked as soon as she recognized my voice. "What's going on? Your dad just called and told me what you did to Aiden." "I got back from my business trip early," I explained, "and caught him in bed with Veronica. I took some pictures and when he tried to grab my camera from me, well, let's just say he got what was coming to him. I'm sending the photos to your email. I'm sorry you had to find out this way, but I figured you should know." "Take care, Chelsea," I said, then hung up and drove past the city limits, heading west. About 5 miles out, I pulled over and parked, killing the engine so I couldn't be tracked. I pulled the battery out of my phone. I thought about ditching the whole thing, but decided to keep it to save the photos. I could always get a burner phone later. I got back on the road, trying to put as much distance between me and California as possible. After 2 days of driving, I made it to Arizona and got a room in a motel just outside of Flagstaff. I spent a week in Flagstaff, getting to know the area. It was nice, and I felt drawn to the mountains, but I decided it was too soon to settle down. I needed to keep moving, make it harder for them to find me. I stopped in Sedona for lunch and decided to try calling Mom again, but there was no answer. On a whim, I dialed the office. "Good morning, thanks for calling Dawson & Sons. How may I help you?" "Morning, Brenda. Is Mom around?" "Ethan, where are you? Things are falling apart here. You need to come back." "Not gonna happen. Is Mom there?" "Hold, please, I'll transfer you." "Ethan, is that you?" Mom answered on the second ring. "How's New York?" "New York's in the rearview mirror. Didn't care much for it. I'm down in Florida now, a little town called Clearwater, having breakfast at this nice little place called the Town and Country. Thinking about settling down here." "You need to come back home, Ethan." "Not happening, Mom. I need some time to get over what happened. If I came back now, I might end up doing something I regret. I can't be around Aiden or Dad without wanting to." I trailed off, unable to finish the thought. "At least call Veronica," she said. "Please? I'm really worried about her. She's a mess right now." "She made this mess," I said. "Let her deal with it herself." "Ethan, I'm serious. I'm afraid she might do something to hurt herself." "Like what?" "Like, ending it." "I wouldn't put it past her," I said flatly. "Might even be quicker and cheaper than a divorce." "That's really harsh, Ethan." "Harsh? Try coming home from a business trip to find your wife in bed with 2 men." "Ethan. She's lucky I didn't kill her after what I did to Aiden. She's dead to me, and I'd appreciate it if you'd stop bringing her up." "I didn't raise you to talk like this." "Mom, have you forgotten who those 2 men were?" "Ethan, I'll call you later." I hung up, resisting the urge to smash the phone against the wall. I couldn't believe she was still pushing me to talk to Veronica after everything that had happened. I left Sedona and got back on I-17, heading south. I didn't have a specific destination in mind, but figured just driving was as good a plan as any. Around 2 o'clock, I pulled into a truck stop off I-17 to gas up and grab something to eat. After filling the tank, I parked toward the back of the lot. Just as I was about to get out of the car, I heard a tap 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 on the window. I looked over and saw a young woman standing there. I rolled down the window. "What's up?" I asked. She glanced around nervously, avoiding my eyes. She looked like she was struggling to speak. She was pretty attractive, probably in her early 20s. Finally, she blurted out, "This is really hard for me to say, but I'm starving. I haven't eaten in 2 days. I'm in pain. I'll give you a blowjob for $20, so I can get some food." It was pretty clear she wasn't a pro. $20? I started to roll the window up, saw the look on her face, and I don't know what came over me. I got out of the car. "Come on," I said. "Let's get you something to eat." Her name was Lily Thomas. We didn't talk much until we were sitting in a booth, waiting for our order. "So," I asked, "why were you trying to earn a meal that way?" Before she could answer, the waitress came to take our order. "Burger and fries, please," Lily mumbled. "We'll both have the 8-ounce sirloin," I told the waitress, figuring she could use a decent meal. Lily started to protest, but I waved her off. She finally broke down and told me her story. She'd run away from an abusive stepfather and an alcoholic mother. Her stepfather had threatened her, and her mother was too wasted to care. One night, she'd cleaned out their wallets and took off. She was heading to Dallas, where her sister lived. She'd fallen asleep on the bus to Phoenix, and when she woke up, her purse was gone, leaving her stranded. "Why didn't you call the cops on your stepdad?" I asked. She explained that her stepfather hadn't actually done anything physical to her. He knew better, didn't want to get caught with statutory stuff. Lily had just turned 18 a few days before she'd left. I threatened to call the cops, she said. But he just laughed. Said it would be his word against mine, and my mom would back him up just so she could keep getting her pills. She shook her head. I couldn't risk it. Our food came, and we ate in silence. Lily passed on dessert, said she wanted to get back to trying to hitch a ride. I surprised myself by saying, "Get in the car." "What?" she asked. "I'm driving your way," I said, surprising even myself. The truth was, I was driving with no destination in mind, just trying to outrun my own problems. After paying, we got back on the road. Lily nervously admitted she'd never hitchhiked before. "Don't worry," I reassured her. "I'm not going to. You're safe with me. I'm just giving you a lift to Dallas." We drove until 8, then stopped for gas and food. While we waited for our order, I asked if her sister knew she was coming. "My phone was in my purse when it was stolen," she said. "I haven't been able to get in touch with her." I passed her my burner phone. "Here, call her. You can have some privacy while you talk." When I got back with the food, she was smiling. "She's so glad I called," Lily said. "And my mom called her, too. She actually sounded sober when she asked how I was doing." "You should call her," I suggested. "I know," Lily sighed. "But I'm not ready. Maybe in a few days, once I'm back on my feet." We got back on the road. A while later, Lily asked, "So, you've heard my story. What about you? What are you running from?" I told her. About my dad, my brother, everything. "And you didn't do anything to them?" she asked, her eyes wide. "What was I supposed to do?" I asked. It wasn't like they were holding a gun to her head. "What did your wife say about it?" she asked. "I didn't ask," I said. "I just left." "Maybe she was being forced?" Lily suggested. "Or blackmailed?" "She wasn't forced," I said. I could tell by the look on her face while I was taking the pictures. And if someone was blackmailing her, she could have told me. We could have figured something out. "I still think you should find out what happened," Lily said. "Maybe someday. Just not right now." We stopped at a Days Inn around 9. I got us a room with 2 beds. "You don't have to do that," Lily said. "It's fine," I said. Ellipsis. But she didn't stay in her own bed for long. After her shower, she came into my room and got into bed with me. Before I knew what was happening, she was touching me, her hand moving lower. I stopped her. "No, Lily." "But I want to." "Lily, I owe you." "You don't owe me anything. I'm not going to take advantage of you. You were in a tough spot, desperate." "I wasn't that desperate," she said, her cheeks flushed. "I want to do this. Because I want to. Is that okay?" She was right. And she was attractive. And the truth was, Veronica's betrayal had pretty much severed whatever tie I'd felt bound to her. I let go of Lily's wrist. She took that as a yes. We ended up driving through the night. I decided to visit the Alamo in San Antonio. It was only a 3-hour detour. About 30 minutes outside of El Paso, I spotted a car pulled over to the side of the road with a man and woman hitchhiking. What are the chances? But I'd been in their shoes not long ago, so I pulled over. The man, Mark, he said his name was, got in the front seat, and the woman, Olivia, climbed in back. We hadn't gone far when Mark pulled a switchblade. "Cash, wallet, car keys," he growled. "Now." I reached for the .45 I had in the door pocket. "Don't think so." I didn't get the chance to pull it out. Before I could react, Olivia had slipped her purse strap around Mark's neck and yanked back. He dropped the knife, struggling for breath, but she had him in a tight chokehold. I pulled over onto a dirt road, grabbed the switchblade, and got out of the car. I opened the passenger door. "You can let go now," I told Olivia. She released her grip. Mark, unconscious, slumped forward. I pulled him out of the car and left him sprawled on the ground. I checked his pulse, he was still alive. I dragged him over to the ditch, rolled him in, and tossed his clothes in after him. "You want to ride up front?" I asked Olivia. She looked at me, her eyes wide. You're not going to leave me here?" "Why would I do that?" I don't know. Maybe because I was with him?" "You just saved my life," I said. "Even if you had been working with him, why would I abandon you now?" She shrugged and slid into the front seat. I made a U-turn and we headed toward San Antonio. "So?" I asked, once we were back on the road. "You weren't involved with him, then?" "I'd only known him for about an hour," she said. "My car broke down and he stopped and offered me a ride. He turned out to be a real jerk. Figured I should pay him back for the ride. I was planning on ditching him as soon as he stopped for gas or something. Then he started threatening me and..." She trailed off, shaking her head. "That's when I decided I needed a new plan. That's when I knew I had to do something," she said. "Hence the purse strap." "Why didn't he just drop you off back in, where was it? Van Horn, so you could call a tow truck?" "It wasn't my car," she said. "Didn't really care what happened to it." I raised an eyebrow. "It's my husband's company car," she explained. "I'm sure he's reported it stolen by now. Or he will, soon enough." She paused. "My plan was to ditch it at the airport in San Antonio and get a flight to Vegas." She must have seen the look on my face because she added, "I should probably tell you the whole story. See, I caught my husband cheating on me. So, to get back at him, I slept with his brother. And then I told him about it. Said we were even, and he could either stop screwing around, or I'd keep sleeping with other guys every time he did." "What did he say to that?" I asked. She snorted. "He called me well, let's just say he called me a really nasty name. Said it was fine for men to cheat, but not for women." "Did he really say that?" "He actually said that men are programmed to reproduce, but women are programmed to stay home and take care of the family." She made quote marks with her fingers. "He actually used the word nature." She shook her head. "Anyway, he said he was leaving, said he wouldn't live with someone like me." So, after he fell asleep that night, I took his car keys, cleaned out our bank accounts, and left. Drove until I ran out of gas and here I am. I laughed out loud. "What's so funny?" she asked. "It's just, what a coincidence." "What do you mean?" "It's almost like we're in the same boat." "How do you figure?" I told her my story. "Oh my God," she breathed when I was finished. "What are the chances?" "Right?" I chuckled. "I guess that means you won't be trying to patch things up with your husband anytime soon." "Not a chance in hell," she said, shaking her head. She told me about her family in Vegas and how she planned to stay with them until she could get back on her feet. "You in a hurry to get there?" I asked. "Just getting there is all that matters," she replied. I told her I was planning on visiting the Alamo, then asked, "How about we drive to Vegas together? I've always wanted to see it." "Sure," she said with a smile. It beats trying to scrape together the cash for a plane ticket. We ended up spending a couple of days in San Antonio. We did the Alamo, strolled along the Riverwalk, even bought one of those old-fashioned road atlases so we could plan our route. We figured it would be about a 2.5-day drive, so we got a motel room for the night and planned to leave first thing in the morning. When I asked Olivia if she wanted separate rooms, or one with 2 beds, she surprised me by saying, "Get one with 1 bed." I must have looked confused because she added, "It's the least I can do after you bought me dinner." Part of me thought I should say no. But she was attractive. And the thought of getting back at Veronica, even in this small way, was appealing. We ended up taking 6 days to drive the 1,200 miles to Vegas. By the time we pulled into town, it was 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening. "So, what's the address?" I asked, thinking about getting a room for the night. "Not tonight," Olivia said. "Spend one more night with me? I'll call my mom and let her know we'll be there tomorrow." She leaned over the console, kissed me, then pulled back and asked, "Have you ever, had a woman from behind?" "Yeah," I said. The truth was, I'd never done it that way. I've always wanted to try it," she said. "Benjamin, my husband, he was really into the idea. But, I don't know, it always seemed kind of gross. But, I want to try it. Now." "Why now? What changed your mind?" "I want to give you something I never gave him," she whispered. "And, maybe someday, I'll tell him how much I enjoyed it." You've thought about the fact that you might not like it?" I asked. "It's possible," she said, her cheeks flushed again. "But that's not what I'll tell him." She was right. And, it was a pretty great way to get back at Benjamin. Turns out, she did like it. A lot. We pulled up in front of her mother's house at 6 the next evening. Olivia looked at me, a sad expression on her face. "I'd invite you in," she said. "But, it's probably best if you don't come in right now. Things are a little awkward." "Awkward? How so?" "When I called my mom to tell her we were on our way, she said Benjamin's here. Seems he's trying to convince me to take him back." "Are you going to?" She sighed. "I don't know. Part of me, I do love him, I've loved him since we were kids. But, I left because he said he couldn't live with someone like me. Said he wanted a divorce." "Look," I said, taking her hand. "If you want me to get a motel room so I can." "It's tempting," she said, cutting me off. "Believe me, but everything that's happened is still too raw. I can't make that kind of decision right now." She scribbled her number on a piece of paper and handed it to me. "In case you want to call." We kissed. It was a long, lingering kiss, full of possibilities. Then she got out of the car and walked toward the house. I was tempted to call after her. Tell her to forget about Benjamin and come with me. But, something stopped me. I started the car and drove away. I checked into a motel a few blocks away, then went next door to a Denny's for dinner. Back in my room, I pulled out the burner and dialed Mom's number. It rang 4 times, then someone picked up. "Hello?" It was Richard. I hung up. What the hell was going on? Mom had said she kicked him out. I dug Chelsea's number out of my wallet and dialed. "Hello?" "Hey, Chelsea. It's Ethan." "Ethan, where are you? I've been worried sick. Down in Clearwater, Florida. I just tried calling Mom, but Dad answered. What's going on?" "Last I heard, your mom was staying with Aunt Janice," Chelsea said. "Richard wanted the weekend to clear out his stuff from the house and garage before she goes back." "Oh," was all I could manage. "How are you holding up?" I asked. "I hired a lawyer and filed for divorce," she said. "Aiden's saying he's going to fight it. I told him to go ahead and waste his money. He might delay things, but he can't stop it." "Good for you," I said. "Did you know?" Her voice dropped to a whisper. "After your mom and I kicked them out, Aiden and your dad moved in with Veronica." I hadn't known, but I wasn't surprised. "They're trash, Chelsea. All 3 of them. They deserve each other." "So, when are you coming back?" Chelsea asked. "I'm not," I said. "At least, not for a while." "Ethan?" "I don't think I do well in jail, Chelsea." "What are you talking about?" "Shooting someone. Even if they don't die, it's illegal, right?" Why would you even think that?" Because I shot Aiden, Chelsea. There was a long silence. Then she said, "No, you didn't." "Yes, I did." "No," she said. "Your dad and Aiden, they told the police it was an accident. That Aiden accidentally shot himself while he was showing Veronica how to use that little pistol you bought her for protection." "They actually bought that?" "Your dad said he took your piece outside, fired it into the ground, then brought it back inside, along with the spent shell casing, and put it next to Aiden." "And the cops bought it?" "Yeah, they did." "What about the tires? In Dad's car?" "I don't think the police ever knew about that." "Why? Why would they lie for him, Ethan? After what he did?" "Your dad said, the business couldn't handle the scandal. That Aiden wasn't happy about that and wanted to blame me for it. But your dad wouldn't let him." "That's unbelievable," Chelsea whispered. "Like I said, I'm not coming back. At least not for a while. If I did, and I ran into Dad or Aiden, I don't know what I'd do. I'd probably lose it and—" "Ethan, your mom needs you. She needs your help with the business." "She doesn't need me. She's got Aiden." "Aiden is useless. Now that your dad's not there to cover for him, it's obvious he can't handle it." "But, I bet you already knew that." She was right. I'd always known that Aiden was useless. But he was family. And it was Dad's company. If Dad didn't care if it went under. How are you doing, Chelsea?" I asked. "Really?" She laughed, a brittle, humorless sound. "What a question. You know how it is. You're probably dealing with the same crap I am. Look, I'm sorry for dumping all this on you." "Don't be. I'm glad you called. We were talking about having a baby, you know? And if we'd had a kid, and then I found out about Aiden and Veronica, I'd be stuck being a single mother. You saved me from that." Natalie pulled out a book and started reading while I hummed along to the classic rock station on the radio, trying not to think about what, and who, was waiting for me when I finally made it back home. It was a short drive from Ann Arbor to Ypsilanti, where I got a room at a motel just off I-94. I set a wake-up call for 7, then collapsed onto the bed. I grabbed breakfast at a McDonald's drive-thru the next morning, then made my way to Dawson & Sons, arriving just as Greg, the security guard, was unlocking the front door. I could have used my key to let myself in, but it didn't feel right. I could have pounded on the door until someone came to let me in, but, honestly, I wasn't looking forward to facing whatever awaited me inside. "Welcome back, Mr. Dawson." Greg greeted me with a wide smile. Brenda, the receptionist, jumped up from her desk and ran over to give me a hug. "Thank God you're back." She kissed my cheek. "Maybe now we can get things back on track." "Mom here?" I asked. "In her office. Where else would she be?" Eleanor didn't look up from the paperwork on her desk when I walked in. "About time you showed up," she said, her voice tight. "There's a mountain of stuff on your desk that needs your attention. Right now." "I haven't decided if I'm staying yet," I said. "Don't be ridiculous, Ethan," she said. "You need to be here. You can't solve your problems by running away. We need you here. This is where you belong. Now, get to work. We can talk at lunch." She was right. I wasn't going to solve anything by arguing with her. It wasn't quite a mountain, but there was a lot of paperwork on my desk. I sighed and rolled up my sleeves. Around 12:30, Mom poked her head in the door. "Lunchtime," she announced. We walked down the block to the Greek place we usually went to for lunch. After we'd ordered, Mom asked, "Did you go home last night?" "No, I got a room at a motel." "Why not just go home?" "Veronica's there, Mom." "Ethan, you're going to have to face her eventually. Why not just get it over with?" "Why are you so eager for me to talk to her? After what she did with Dad, you should want her to suffer. But no, you're worried she's going to hurt herself? You're practically begging me to go back to the woman I'd like to strangle." "It might not make sense to you, Ethan," Mom said quietly. "But I want my son back. And that's not going to happen until you sort all this out. And to do that, you need answers. You need closure. Answers to what? Why did she do it? What did I do to make her do it? How long has it been going on? If my father and brother were the only ones. Maybe there are other questions. But you need to figure it all out so you can move on, Ethan. She was right. But, did I really want to know the answers? I pushed the thought away. I spent the rest of the afternoon buried in paperwork. Around 5:30 I left work, got in my car, and sat there for a minute, trying to decide what to do. Head back to the motel, or go home. I took a deep breath and turned left. Veronica's car was in the garage, so I knew she was home. I sat there in the driveway, staring at the house, trying to find the courage to get out of the car. Just do it, Ethan, I told myself. I got out of the car and walked up the front steps. As I reached for the doorknob, the door swung open, revealing Veronica. Before I could say a word, she threw her arms around me. You're okay, thank God, you're okay, she cried, clinging to me. I was so taken aback by her reaction that I just stood there for a second. Then, I pushed her away. What? Why did you push me away? I love you. Love me? I snorted. You love me? But you slept with my father and my brother? I can only imagine what you'd do if you hated me. You don't understand. I had to. You had to? I need to hear this. Go sit at the kitchen table. I'm going to pour myself a drink. I'm going to need it to get through whatever bullshit you're about to feed me. I made myself a stiff Jack and Coke, then joined her at the table. I didn't really want to come here, I said, taking a seat. But Mom convinced me I had to face you. I took a sip of my drink, then said, Go ahead, Veronica. Explain yourself. Do you remember Sarah's birthday party? The one you missed because you were out of town? Yeah, I remember. I told you to go, even if I couldn't. Chelsea was taking care of her sick mom that night, so Aiden was there alone. When he realized I was there by myself, he started following me around. Decided to be my watchdog for the night. She snorted. He wasn't very good at it. What happened? I asked, dreading the answer. Someone there, probably Aiden, noticed I was alone and spiked my drink. With some kind of date rape drug, I guess. My watchdog didn't see it happen, but he noticed I was disoriented. Figured something was wrong. He thought it was Kevin Carter? I don't know. Some guy who'd been hanging around me. Aiden got me out of there and took me home. And I can't be sure what happened next, she said, her voice dropping to a whisper. By then, I was pretty out of it. I only know what Aiden told me the next day. She took a deep breath. He said, once he got me home, he put me to bed. Then he undressed and got in bed with me. He said he couldn't help himself. That he'd always wanted me, and this was his chance to. She trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. What about Dad? I asked, my voice cold. He showed up later. He was just doing his usual check-in on me while you were out of town. But he walked in and saw what was happening. And he started taking pictures. With his phone. She shivered. I didn't even know he was there, not until later. He took a bunch of pictures, then got in bed with me. When Aiden was finished, he got off me, and your dad took his place. She covered her face with her hands. After your dad finished? Aiden was ready again, and he took over. It was during Aiden's second time that I started to realize who was with me. But by then, I was so out of it, it didn't even matter who it was, as long as I was, getting off. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with tears. I don't know how many times they did it to me before they finally got dressed and left. But I was exhausted. I just fell asleep. Later that afternoon, Aiden came over. He begged me not to tell you or Chelsea about what he'd done. And then your dad showed up. Said he was back for more. When I told him to leave, he just laughed. And he showed me the pictures he'd taken. said if I treated him well, you'd never see them. Veronica wrapped her arms around herself, as if trying to hold herself together. He said, I couldn't let you see those photos, because they didn't show someone being forced. They showed a woman who looked like she loved it. She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. I know now. I should have told them both to get the hell out of my life, trusted that you would have believed me. But hindsight's always 20/20, right? How many times did this happen, Veronica? Every time you go on a business trip? Sarah's birthday party was 7 months ago, I said, my voice cold. And I've been out of town at least a dozen times since then. 9. She whispered. 9 trips, including Sarah's party. She looked away, and suddenly, I knew. I don't know how, but I knew. That's bullshit, Veronica, I said, my voice flat. You liked it. You wouldn't let me, because you thought it was disgusting. But you liked it. And you didn't want it to stop. That's why you didn't tell me. You were hoping I'd never find out. She looked at me then with an expression I'd never seen before. No, Ethan, I didn't just like it. I loved it. I wanted more than I was getting. But I couldn't risk it, not while you were around. I honestly thought, if I only, did it, when you were gone, you'd never find out. I enjoyed it, a lot, but I love you, Ethan. I didn't want to lose you. Were Aiden and my father the only ones? No, she whispered. Your dad, he brought 3 other guys with him. 3 times. Oh, this just gets better and better, I said sarcastically. Group sex, Veronica? You slept with 9 different guys. I bet you loved that, too. I did. Her voice was flat, emotionless. And it wasn't 9 different guys. It was the same 3 each time. Do I know them? Are they people I see all the time? People who are secretly laughing at me? She shook her head. I don't think so. I think they were just customers. That your dad was entertaining. I don't understand, Veronica, I said, my voice breaking. You say you love me. But you did this to me. For 7 months? My father and my brother, laughing behind my back every time they saw me, making a fool of me. Leaving me to deal with? I couldn't finish the thought. They made a fool out of me, Veronica. Left me to deal with the aftermath. I thought about the countless business trips I'd taken over the past 7 months, always pushing myself to make that extra sale, close that deal, so he could, so she could have more fun while I was gone? I know all of our customers, I said, my voice shaking. So, that means 3 men I work with are probably smirking inside every time they shake my hand. I felt sick to my stomach. You say you love me? And you could still do this to me? You could have told me. If I wasn't satisfying you, I could have tried to do better. Quote. There's nothing wrong with you, Ethan, Veronica insisted. You always made me feel good. It's not about how well, it's about how often. You'd finish, and you'd need to take a break. But I could keep going. Think of it this way. Put 5 guys and 1 girl in one room, and 5 girls and 1 guy in another room. After 20 minutes? In the first room, you'd find 1 guy doing it, 1 guy waiting his turn, and 3 guys ready to go again. But in the second room? You'd see 5 women waiting for the guy to get hard again. It's just how we're made, Ethan. So, there was no love? No affection? Nothing? I don't even like your dad or Aiden anymore, Veronica said. They're both jerks. They are jerks, but you let them live with you. They didn't have anywhere else to go, she said quietly. And I felt partly responsible for their situation. I could have stopped it after the first time, but I didn't. I let it continue. And that's how we got caught. I told them no more when they moved in. I didn't know if I could get you back. But I knew I definitely wouldn't have a chance if I kept sleeping with them. One night, they tried to get me drunk, so they could take advantage of me. But I figured out what they were doing. And I made them leave. It took me pointing your gun at your father to get them to go." Her voice cracked. You really think, after seeing that you'd want to come back to me?" I still had hope. She whispered. "I know we see things differently, but aside from the shock of finding out, did it really hurt you? You got all the love and affection you wanted? I never said no to you, and most of the time, it was me chasing you." "That's not true," I said, my voice flat. "Yes, it is. You turned me down plenty of times?" When did I ever turn you down?" Every time you want to, try it from behind?" I said no, but your father, he had no problem with it. "I didn't give it to him, Veronica. He and Aiden took it. That night, when I was drugged. And then, I found out, I actually liked it." You never got it, because you never asked for it, Ethan," she said softly. After I discovered I liked it, I thought about suggesting it. But I'd said no so many times before. I didn't want you to think I was just curious or suspicious. I figured I'd wait until you asked again, and then I'd agree to try it. But you never asked." She paused, then said, "Since we're talking about it, maybe it could be a great welcome home gift? Maybe if I was coming home." "But you're not," she whispered, her face falling. "Why not, Ethan? Why? You think I'm not satisfied with you? That I need multiple partners? I never said." "You've always satisfied me, always," she said, her voice breaking. "I don't need more than what you can give me. Yes, I discovered I liked it more, but I don't need it. What I need is you. Even if you want to get back at me, go find someone else. But please, come back to me." I kept my mouth shut. Part of me, a big part, was tempted. But I didn't say anything. Just then, the front door slammed open, and Aiden limped into the room, leaning heavily on a cane. He had a gun in his other hand. My gun. The one I'd left in the lockbox in the den. "I've been waiting for you to come back, you son of a bitch," he snarled. "I'm going to take out both your knees. See how you like it." "We're family, Aiden. What the hell is wrong with you? What did you think? You'd get a medal for sleeping with my wife? Should have just killed you back in Arizona. Forget it." He raised the gun, aiming for my legs. "No." Veronica screamed, throwing herself between us. There was a deafening roar. I'm not sure who was more shocked, Aiden or me. But I reacted first. I tackled him, knocking him to the floor. The gun skittered across the hardwood. I hit him. Once, twice, 3 times. He went limp. I grabbed the gun, scrambled to my feet, and smashed it against the side of his head, then turned to Veronica, who was lying on the floor, blood blossoming on her white blouse. "Oh my God, Veronica." I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. "I need an ambulance. My brother shot my wife." I ran to the kitchen, grabbed a dish towel, and raced back to Veronica. I knelt beside her, pressing the towel against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. Don't leave me, Ethan," she whispered. Please, don't leave me." The EMTs arrived, followed closely by the police. They took one look at Aiden, still out cold on the floor, and called for another ambulance. I guess I'd gotten a little carried away. Aiden kept trying to get up while the paramedics were working on Veronica. I had to hit him a few more times to keep him down. 6 times, maybe? It was a surreal scene. My wife bleeding on the floor, my brother moaning in pain, the cops asking me questions, and me, standing there, unharmed. I spent an hour talking to the police. Luckily, I'd recorded everything on my phone, from the moment I walked into the house to the moment Aiden pulled the trigger. They seemed to accept my version of events. Self-defense, they called it. They were just leaving when my phone rang. It was the hospital. Veronica was gone. She died in the ambulance. I hung up the phone, feeling completely numb. Veronica was gone. And the worst part? I was starting to understand that she died trying to save me. If she had lived, I probably, no, definitely, would have taken her back. The whole thing made the local news. Aiden's attempted murder charge got bumped up to murder when Veronica died. Aiden's trial didn't start for another 8 months. He tried to claim it was an accident, that he'd never meant to hurt anyone. But nobody believed him. He was sentenced to 20 years to life. The day he was sentenced, Chelsea called. She asked me for a favor. "I want to sleep with you, Ethan," she said. "So I can tell Aiden." Chelsea was attractive, and I didn't see a reason to say no. She wore me out that night. The next day, she went to see Aiden and told him what she'd done. He didn't react the way she'd expected. Instead of getting angry, yelling at her, he just sat there and cried. A week later, she called again. "I could use a friend with benefits," she said. "You know anyone who might be interested?" We were involved for another 4 months. Then she got a promotion and had to relocate to Dallas. I was sorry to see her go. I even considered going with her. But she talked me out of it. "I like you, Ethan. A lot, but I don't love you. And I need to find someone I do love. Who loves me. I'm starting a new life in Dallas and I hope I can find what I'm looking for there." I understood. My father tried to get in touch a few times, but I refused to talk to him. When he died, a massive stroke, I went to his funeral. And I made a scene. Puked on his grave as they lowered the casket. Classy, I know. Later, Mom told me the names of 3 customers who'd been close to Dad. They might not have been the same 3 he'd taken to Veronica. I might never know for sure, but I decided to make them pay. In my own way. I didn't hurt them, physically. But I messed with them. They were still customers, so I targeted them through the business. They ended up paying 2 to 4 cents more per unit than our other customers. And I always made sure they didn't get the same quantity discounts as everyone else. It wasn't much, but I needed to do something. I know it was unfair to punish them without knowing for sure if they were involved. It might have all been in my head. But sometimes, I thought I saw a smirk on their faces when they'd see me at the office. I'm only human, right? Like most people, I felt a need to get even. Even if I was wrong. My mental state was better for having done something, rather than nothing. I'll let karma handle the rest. There was one unexpected outcome, about 10 months after I came back to California. I was at home, reading the business section of the New York Times, when my cell phone rang. "Hello? Ethan? It's Lily. Do you remember me?" "Yeah, I remember. My sister, she saved your number. From when I used your phone to call her. Remember?" "I remember. Well, my sister, she insisted that I call you. Believe me, I didn't really want to, but she said you have a right to know." "Know what, Lily?" She took a deep breath. You're a father, Ethan. You have twin sons. You're serious?" "Yes, I'm serious. You're the only man I've ever been with." There was a long silence. Then she said, "Look, I'm not asking for anything, Ethan. Christine, my sister, insisted that calling you was the right thing to do." 36 hours later, I was standing on the doorstep of a house in Dallas, about to start a new chapter in my life.